Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
There's a lot that could impress you about the all-new Honda Prologue EV. True, it's got class-leading passenger space and clean, thoughtful design and intuitive technology. But what really sets the Prologue apart from the competition is that it's more than an EV. It's a Honda. Honda, the power of dreams. Visit honda.com/prologue to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use, but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year. And plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallace. On today's show, our focus is women's cricket and the captain of the Blaze, Kirstie Gordon, who has just led the East Midlands-based side to victory in this year's Charlotte Edwards Cup, and is shortly due to play for the Trent Rockets in the 100. Scottish-born Kirstie talks candidly about her decision to make herself available to play for England, which she did in 2018, after previously representing the country of her birth. Kirstie also discusses her role as captain at the Blaze and looks ahead to the 100. Hello, Kirstie. Thanks for joining me on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Thank you for having me.
It must be a bit of a quiet time for you after Rachel Hayhoe-Flint trophy matches and now leading up to the 100.
Yeah, a nice, hopefully well-deserved few days of downtime. I guess leading into the 100, like we all very much look forward to the 100. So, yeah, got about 5 or 6 days now until we meet up as a team, which will be good. And then 2 weeks on Friday, our first game. So yeah, that'll be great.
You've got some fellow Blaze players with you in the team as well.
Yeah, a couple of youngsters in Josie Groves and Cassidy McCarthy. So they were part of the Rockets last year as well. It's nice having them around as well. And obviously Nat leading the side. Not that we see her much for the Blaze, but obviously know her well and love playing with her. So I'm really looking forward to it. A few new teammates as well. So I think that's always the exciting bit about the 100 is you constantly getting to play with different people from all over the world and meet different people and make new friends.
We're going to come back to the 100, but I wanted to begin by asking you about the season so far and what a season you're having at the Blaze. Yeah,
it's been pretty special so far. I don't imagine that when we started the season, we'd have lifted the first silverware at the first opportunity. I'm so pleased with that, and I think that's really brought the group even closer together. Those successes are so special, those moments, and I guess hopefully we can build on that in the Rachel Hayhoe-Flint comp, where we didn't go off to the best start, but we're creeping back up that table now.
What was the difference in 2024 to 2023 and winning the trophy?
Yeah, I think last year, we'd had so much success in the group stages of winning all our group games in the build-up, that when things didn't go right on finals day, they started badly. It was the panic kind of set in of, well, this wasn't in our script. And then, when it starts and it snowballs and things just didn't go our way. And that's sport sometimes as well. Things don't always go your way. You get beaten by better teams. But I remember saying to the girls, we'll be better off for this in the long run. We will. And I know it's really hard to take, but we'll be better off because of it. So to come back this year and win, I think 8 out of our 9 out of our 10 group games, it felt like, oh God, is the same thing going to happen again here? You know, we've topped the group, we've been the best team through the group stages. Are we going to fall at the final hurdle? But the composure that the girls showed, the clarity they had in their plans, and the freedom that we played with so much belief that, no, we're going to do it this time. We know what we did wrong last time, and we're going to give it our all to make sure the result goes our way. It was I've told a lot of people this, it was relief more than anything at the end, until the celebrations kicked in later on.
So you were on a mission after last year to win the trophy this year? Yeah,
definitely. And I think the first thing that dawned on me at the start of the season was a bit like, oh, we've done all that hard work to make it to the final. We're not just going to rock up at the final this year and have to do the final better. We got to do everything again almost. And that felt quite scary that, you know, we'd won all the group games last year. It was almost like, oh, well, we're going to have to do something similar again. But we did, and we got off. We got quite lucky in our first game of the competition, won a game we should never have won. And I think it just started the ball rolling. You know, when you win from a bad position, it's like, oh, right, we're on. And we played better and better cricket as the tournament went on. And there was that real desire. And there was so much hurt after last year that I do think that held us in good stead going into finals day in Derby.
Finals day must be a tough day. You start at 11 o'clock in the morning and you're still playing at, 7, 8 o'clock at night?
Yeah. And the rest, really, to be honest. I think what was a bit of a spanner in the works as well, a bit of a curveball, was we thought in that middle game, when the other semi-final was on, we might be able to go home, just get out of the building. Obviously, it's in Derby. A lot of us live in Loughborough or Nottingham, so even just go into Derby town centre, but we couldn't leave because of PMOA. We couldn't get our phones back or anything. So, you know, we're sat for 3.5, 4 hours watching the other game or hanging out, you know, in the changing room. And that's stressful for a lot of girls. That's stressful for a lot of people, having to now start thinking about the final for 4 hours. We're going to be playing, oh God, like, what am I going to, you know, what's my plans? Who are we going to be playing? You know, there's another semi-final going on. So, again, I think the girls did excellently well just to switch off in that time, have a bit of fun, watch the cricket if they wanted, but not be starting to think about the game until it was time to start thinking about the game.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that as professional cricketers, you can't sit there and look on Facebook, you know, Twitter and on your phones, because you're not allowed the phones, are you?
Yeah, exactly. And that's fine when you're playing, because you want to be in the moment and in the zone. And even when we're batting and you sat watching, you know, I'm not caring about where my phone is, but in that 4 hour period when we had nothing to do, it felt like forever, especially for some of our younger girls that like to spend their time on TikTok and Snapchat and whatever else.
Yeah, just imagine, you know, young people of your sort of age group who haven't got their phone for 4 hours.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a nightmare.
You were leading wicket taker in the competition as well, 22 wickets.
Yeah, it's pretty pleasing for me. I think I've always been quite confident in my 50 over skills, and I know I'm probably historically better suited the longer the format goes on. So to have had such a good T20 comp and to take wickets in the power play, these are all like little bits that, for me personally, I've been working on. So that's really pleasing. But ultimately, you want to be there for the team in the big moments. You want to stand up and support your mates when it really matters. So that's the best thing about it for me.
One of your mates, Catherine Bryce, who's been on this podcast 2 or 3 times, she really stood out. 478 runs and 10 wickets.
Yeah, it's so hard to sum up how unbelievable she's been. I was fortunate to present her with the Player of the Month trophy a couple of weeks ago, and I made a big statement, and I'm going to stand by it. But I said it was the most dominant month of cricket from one player that I'd ever seen, and I do believe that, because nearly every game she contributed or won us the game, and some of the shots she was playing. I remember we played at Lord's, and unfortunately Tammy got out first ball of the innings, and so, you know, we're none for one off one ball, and Brycey walks out to the middle and she just reverse swept the first ball. And I was just like, oh, that just sums it up for me. That's how confident she is, how well she's playing. that she has the clarity and the confidence just to do that first ball. And we could have easily been none for two after two balls, but she was just so at peace with, this is the right option, I back it, and off she went.
Well, let's hope she does well for Scotland in the T20 World Cup in Bangladesh.
I was just going to say, I'd really love that. You know, like she's had such a great season for us, and it just means so much for her to carry that on and you know, represent Scotland and I guess put out a good showing for them. Like, there's such a great side that are, you know, really coming up, but they do still rely on Catherine and Sarah to score a lot of their runs. So I just really hope that the pair of them have a good competition and Scotland can leave with their heads held high, and you know, a lot of the world looking around going, gee, Scotland are here to compete and they're a real good side.
I believe they're due to play England as well, aren't they, in that competition?
They are, yeah, last game of the group, so it could be a goodie.
Let's move on to captaincy, because you weren't captain of the Loughborough Lightning, who then became the Blaze. But how did the job of captain the Blaze come about?
Well, yeah, I was vice captain to Catherine, obviously we've just been speaking about, through Lightning, and you know, for so many different reasons, we weren't competing as a side. You know, we were finishing quite near the bottom of the table regularly and whatever else. And I think moving to Nottingham, moving to Trent Bridge, changing our brand to the Blaze, I think it presented itself as an opportunity to our management to go, right, well, let's just have a full change here and change how we go about things and how we do things. And you know, Catherine's done a fantastic job. She obviously leads her country incredibly well. But I think, you know, we're very different personalities as well. And I think where Kirstie and James, our head coach and director, kind of saw the transition coming was, I guess, my skill set is very different to Catherine's. I'm quite a vocal leader. I like to be pretty organised and do things proactively and get things sorted. So I think those kind of things were maybe things we needed as a group. We had quite a quiet group that maybe weren't willing to speak up or be vulnerable, and all these bits that I wanted to bring in, and the brand of cricket we wanted to play. So there was no doubt it was a difficult time when you take over the captaincy from your best mate, your housemate. It was difficult, but it was such a credit to Catherine and the way she handled it, and has supported me ever since. You know, the last 2 years, she's still somebody that I turn to when I'm like, how do I want to deal with this situation, and take advice from her. So it's a great relationship that I'm so lucky to have with her.
When you took over, did you have sort of individual conversations with all the players, or just as a group?
Yeah, over time, certainly at the beginning, it was more of like, look, this is how we want to go about things. We wanted to be more aggressive in how we played and take the game on a little bit more. And I guess that's how I play as a player as well. As a bowler, I'm always setting aggressive fields and trying to take wickets. And that's what Kirstie wanted us to take into us as a whole team. So when I started speaking to players individually, it was more, how are we going to change what we do? How are you going to change what you do to be more aggressive up top with the ball, or through the middle, or at the back end? And that became our focus. How can we keep taking wickets throughout the innings? And there's times where you have to, you know, take your foot off the gas a little bit and claw it back a bit, and maybe accept that, right, well, you know, we need to soak up the runs for a little while. But I must admit, when I get it wrong, I want to get it wrong by being too aggressive, not by being too defensive.
A lot going on when you're captain of a T20 side, isn't there?
Yeah, it's been a journey, that's for sure. I think it's changed me a little bit as well. I'm naturally quite hot-headed, like loud vocal, and you know, I like to play pretty close to the line. But well, being honest, in the past I've probably crossed it a number of times. So being captain, I think that's mellowed me a little bit and brought me back on the right side of the line, trying to set a better example to the girls. But I think part of that's like learning in T20 cricket. Like you said, there's so much going on that I have to remain perceived to be calm. Inside there might be a million things going on, but that perception that those around me think that I'm calm, know that I'm calm, and that I'm backing them regardless. They're all things that I've had to work at, because that's not my natural state. But I think I'm getting there. I think I'm doing a good job, and I've got good people around me, like I said, in Catherine, but in Kirstie, and Marie Kelly's been vice captain this season. She's been great, and Tammy Beaumont. Some really senior players around me that help with those types of things. And I guess I'm learning as well with our relationship. With Marie, when to go to her, what questions to ask, and she knows how to come to me. So those things all they take time to develop, I guess. Because
as a captain, if you lose your composure, it is going to transmit to the rest of the team, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And something that I'm really big on, that I've tried to do, is keep giving my players confidence. Constantly giving them confidence and telling them that I support them and I trust their decisions, let them make the decisions. And we can review and reflect after. And I think that's a big thing. I think back to when I was a young player, and sometimes you just want your captain to say, back you completely. Like, if this is the field you want, then you go for it and I'm with you. So, that's something that I try to instill in them, that belief and that confidence that from any position, in any situation, I back them to do the job.
Just going back to the winter, you had a very exciting winter going to India and New Zealand with England A, and you also were in the England Test squad there for the Test match against India.
Yeah, I've had an unbelievable winter, really, in terms of countries travelled to. It's been very fortunate. Pre-Christmas we had a training camp in Oman, a bit of acclimatization and things before heading off to India, and with the A team, which was amazing. My first ever time in India. And I'm sure cricket mad in India. So a real experience being over there, kind of seeing their culture and how much they love cricket. And that certainly, I saw that when, like say, I was as part of the Test squad. There was a week. I played the T20s with England A, and then there was the T20s with the first team, and then the Test match. So there was a group of 4 of us that were in the Test squad that weren't in the T20 squad. So we were doing some red ball practice whilst the girls were playing in the T20s. And when we went to watch, I was like taken aback, the amount of people going to the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai to watch these T20s, just the carnage on the streets. It was a real amazing kind of eye-opening experience to almost be part of that, because I was, a spectator. When you're playing, you don't really see those scenes outside the stadium because you're there so early and your mind's on the game and things. So no, that was an incredible experience.
You must have been close to getting in the Test side, because it certainly was a spinner's wicket, wasn't it?
Yeah, looking back, I was pretty disappointed that I didn't get the nod, and that they only went with 2 spinners. But that's the game. Sometimes people read conditions differently, and the balance of the side and things. But yeah, certainly, I guess for me, being quite out with that squad generally, when the doors kind of half open and you're in the squad, and it's everything. It felt like everything was right for me to play, and then you don't. It's obviously difficult to take, but that's professional sport as well, isn't it? Sometimes things don't go your way, and you've got to suck it up and go again.
You went to New Zealand, then you were captain of the England A side in the T20s.
Yeah. So after Christmas, went on a Blaze pre-season tour actually as well. So was in Abu Dhabi and then off to New Zealand. So yeah, no, that was a real honour actually. When I got asked to do that, I was really pleased and easy to accept that. I think it's nice when people recognise. Obviously, I've been captain of the Blaze for just 1 year at that point, but I feel like people had recognised that I'd hopefully instilled some good things in that time, and so to be asked to captain out in New Zealand was a real privilege, and I loved it. Very different to captaining like your regional side, I guess. Those girls in the regional team I've worked with for a while now, and you know how they take and what kind of plans they might go to under pressure and things, versus working with some girls that I'd only ever played against, really. So no, that was a great experience as well. Just to, I guess, for my learnings as how you work with different characters and different people.
I believe you played at one of the most beautiful grounds in the world at Queenstown.
Yeah, what a place! The whole place, to be honest, is just next level. Absolutely loved it, and we were so lucky to be there for 2 weeks. So we really got to have a good, good time exploring the place as a whole. We played lots of golf in beautiful settings as well. And yeah, the cricket ground is so picturesque with the mountains in the background, and the airport is literally a stone's throw away. So all the planes kind of coming in, and you get some great photographs of people on the pitch and the planes coming into land.
I've got to ask you, did you do the bungee jump? Or
I didn't. Not allowed, unfortunately.
I thought you wouldn't be.
Contractual rules.
I can always remember Billy Connolly doing it on one of those programs he did in Queenstown.
Yeah, I'm not sure a bungee jump's for me, to be fair. I've done a skydive, but I'm not sure I see the enjoyment in a bungee jump the same.
Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Hey everyone, it is Ryan Seacrest here. Ready to heat up your summer vacation? Get ready, things are about to get sizzling at Chumba Casino. Your summer getting a whole lot hotter with a special daily login bonus waiting just for you. So sign up now for Reels of Fun and Reels of Prizes right here at Chumba Casino with yours truly. Join me at ChumbaCasino.com and dive into a summer of social casino fun.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members only pay a $25 copay or less. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Let's go back to your beginnings in cricket. How did it all start for you in Scotland?
Well, I'm from a very competitive family, big lovers of sport, and I grew up playing tennis and football. They were my first two sports and loves. But unfortunately, the tennis commitments were getting too much for my mum. And so when that came to a stop, there was local cricket club in Huntly, where I'm from, had started a girls' junior section. A few of my schoolmates were going along, so off I went as my replacement for tennis, because in my head they were pretty similar anyway. So that's how it started, and I'm so fortunate that it was a guy called Neil Nichol, who's still in Huntly now, still does all the schools programs, and is just a real lover of cricket and passionate about getting young boys and girls involved in cricket. And there's a number of girls that have come through his program and gone on to play for either Scotland age groups or Scotland as well. So I think it's just a real credit to him. And he, shared his passion with me, and I fell in love with cricket and went up through the Huntly kind of boys age groups and into their senior team before going on to play for Scotland. That must always
toughen you up playing with the boys when they see a girl play. No disrespect, but you must have been a very good player. But boys they see a girl playing and they sort of easily put you down.
Yeah, certainly. Like I've heard a lot of my, former and current teammates in the women's game speak about their experiences playing men's cricket, and we're lucky that most of them on the whole are pretty positive. I was certainly very lucky with the boys I played with, and the men as well. When I played senior cricket, they were so supportive and they absolutely loved having a girl on their team. I guess the hard times are sometimes the opposition more than anything. They don't want to be bowled out by a girl, do they? So, it was more them, or I'd come into bat and they'd bowl really slowly, and I'd think, no, I want you to bowl normally at me. I'm here for a reason, not just so that you can chuck me down some half volleys. So yeah, I'm very fortunate that those were my experiences, and I think looking back at the time, I didn't think anything of it, but looking back, it certainly would have toughened me up. And you get thrown at the deep end, and you sink or you swim. And if I'd sunk, I wouldn't be sat here chatting to you today. I would have gone on to do something completely different. But I took it on, and there were definitely some days where I thought, oh God, this is rubbish. I hate this, and it's hard playing with the men and the boys. But then when Scotland, I had Scotland trials and things, and I went down to play down there in Edinburgh, and I had Scotland under-17s trials, and it wasn't until I started playing with them that I was like, whoa, I'm quite good here, like compared to people my age and of like obviously girls. Because when you're playing with the boys, they're not going to tell you you're any good, and I definitely didn't stand out amongst them. So that was a real, I guess, not a turning point, but I was probably around that age of 13, 14, where I was starting to think, oh, am I any good at this? Like, do I want to keep playing this? But then when I had those experiences playing with the girls and the women, I realised that I was up to scratch.
Yeah, Scotland debut age 14, and then you played some World Cup qualifiers for Scotland in 2015. The next thing is the big question. Can you explain to listeners how a very proud Scot then finishes up playing for England?
Yeah. No, it's a good one, and it's big part of my story, to be fair. And so yeah, I played for Scotland, those qualifiers in Thailand, and then more qualifiers in Sri Lanka in 2017, and I absolutely loved playing for Scotland. But unfortunately, at that time there was no career path there. All amateur, as it still mainly is. And I just loved cricket, and I wanted to see how far I could go, really. So off I went down to Loughborough Uni, age 17, just about to turn 18, and I played at Loughborough in the MCCU programme, which was quite a high-level programme. A lot of girls that were in the England Academy or England First Team, really, I was training with day in, day out. And in 2018, I obviously started before then, but in kind of 2017, 2018, I was really starting to think, where's my cricket going here? I'm going to be graduating uni in a year or two, and what comes next, I suppose. And the Kia Super League had started, and Loughborough Lightning had a team, and I'd been training with them, but I couldn't be selected as a local player. That was the way the rules were. So for me to be selected as a local player in that competition, and start earning money for playing cricket, was to sign documents to not play for Scotland anymore and make myself, I guess, eligible for England. In my head, in that time, it was obviously a very, very difficult decision. I'd kind of fallen out of love a little bit with playing for Scotland. Just changes in management and various different things. And so I kind of thought, well, maybe this is a time to see where my cricket takes me. And no doors were shut. So I made the decision to sign and play for Loughborough Lightning in the Kia Super League. I guess for me at that stage, that's all it was. I was signing to play for Loughborough Lightning, and not really. I obviously had eyes to play for England, but I didn't think it would happen anytime as soon as it did. And off the back of playing in the Kia Super League, I think I finished as the highest wicket taker, and I got a call. I was obviously asked to go and train a bit with England after that, and I thought, oh, this is great. They need a net bowler, and next thing I'm getting a call to say I'm on the plane to the World Cup in the West Indies. So it all happened so quick towards the end of that period. It was obviously a very, very difficult decision, but I've got absolutely no regrets with the decision I made at that time. It was the right thing for me in my career. And off the back of it as well, they changed the rules on domestic cricket. So Catherine Bryce and Sarah Bryce and so many other Scottish girls have been a product of kind of that rule being changed, and they can now play domestically in England, but also keep playing for Scotland. So I guess a lot of people probably don't know that, and it's obviously not a reason I made those decisions, but it's nice to know now that because I've done that, Scotland are actually benefiting from it in a way as well, because their girls are getting paid full time down in England and becoming much better cricketers because of their experiences down here.
And that's only really benefiting the game of cricket itself. Yeah,
massively. It's more talent and growing the game and the associate nations as well, which is great. And I think that's a massive reason why Scotland have qualified for this World Cup. Is I think they've got 7 or 8 girls playing regional cricket down in England, who are getting high quality opposition and training and everything that comes with that week in, week out, and it's made them such a better side.
As you said, you played in the 2018 T20 World Cup in the Caribbean, and you had a successful tournament.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I was actually speaking about it with somebody not that long ago, because I said I don't really remember so much of it. I think in that moment it's such a whirlwind, and you're trying to just focus on the cricket and not let anything else distract you, that I probably didn't take in what was going on as much as maybe if I had that moment again I would. But no, it was unbelievable. My family were out there, and I played every game of the tournament, and whatever happens in the rest of my career, I can say I've played at a World Cup and a World Cup final, and that's something I'm really proud of.
3 wickets on debut against Bangladesh. And I looked through some of the people you dismissed in the tournament. You got Marizanne Kapp out, Deandra Dotting out, Dani van Niekerk out.
I guess, it's like what I said, I guess, earlier with the Blaze, you want to be involved in those big moments. And I loved being a bowler that Heather relied on in that tournament. And I guess, as well, like when you're young and you're quite fearless, aren't you? You've got no scars of previous tournaments or failures. And so I just went for it, and I had a great time, and I was lucky enough to have a good tournament and then get some great players out. Following
summer, you played a test match against Australia.
Yeah, so I came back from that World Cup, and I found I had a stress fracture in my back. So a bit of a, I guess, the highest high to the lowest low. You're then home and to do anything, train, play, everything. So that was quite a tough winter, but I was in my final year at uni. So my mum keeps telling me it was a blessing in disguise, because I focused on my dissertation and I graduated with the first class honours at least. So there was something good came out of it. And then it was a bit of a race against time. I think because I was young and I hadn't had a great backlog of S&C training and things behind me, we took it pretty slowly. And so it got to kind of March, April, May, and I was still building back up, and I thought I'm never going to get picked for England this summer. West Indies were over first, I think, and they kind of said to me, look, don't focus on that. Focus on the Ashes, get yourself back fit for that. So I'd been in and around the A-team. That was the first kind of A-team series that they had against Australia, and I played the one-dayers and then a 3-day game. And so the way they do the 3-day games is the A-team, which I was in, play against the Aussie first team, and then like the Aussie A-team played against England's first team. So I took 8 wickets in that A-team game against Australia first team, and I think that performance was what led to getting the nod for the test match, which probably the most special moment of my career, really. I think especially with the backstory of having the back injury and coming back from that in time and being fit enough to play in the test match it was the whole story really.
Hopefully you'll get a chance to play for the full England side again. That must be something you aspire to.
Yeah, I do. But I think as the years have gone on, it's something that I've tried to hold on to less and less. Not because I want it any less, but just because I've realised the more you kind of crave it and dream about it and pray for it to happen and all these things, you're not living in the moment, and you're not going to be playing your best cricket because you're constantly trying to prove something to somebody else. So I've played the best cricket of my life in the last couple of years, and that's because I'm really content with where I am. I love playing for the Blaze, I love playing for the Rockets and England A as well. And if somebody taps me on the shoulder and says you're in for the first team, then I'll absolutely jump at that chance. But if they don't, then they don't, and that's something that I've quite come to terms with really in the last kind of 12, 18 months.
You're still young yet. You're only 26.
Yeah, I am. Thank you. Unfortunately, a lot of the spinners in the England team are younger than me, and they're very good as well. So that's the way it goes, and that's professional sport. Not everybody has the perfect career and the fairy tale endings. So I'm pretty content with what's going on at the minute.
Enjoying the 100? If so, you will like episode 278, the past, the present and the future of the 100 ball competition. With Rosa Simpkin of Rosa Talks Ball, today's guest Kirstie Gordon, and the General Manager at the Trent Rockets, Mick Newell. You can catch the show on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify and on our YouTube channel. Plus, you can follow the Paddock and the Pavilion on X, Facebook, Instagram and Threads. Now let's get back to Kirstie for some 100 chat. Well, let's move on to the 100. We spoke a bit off air about the competition. How do you reflect on the actual competition over the 3 years?
Yeah, it's been unbelievable, really. Everything that they set out to do in terms of attracting new audiences, pushing women's cricket forward and into the limelight. I think they've ticked those boxes incredibly well. I remember the first game I played in the 100 was for Birmingham Phoenix against London Spirit. Ran out on the pitch at Edgbaston. I was fielding at backward point, and Amy Jones was the captain, keeper. So she's behind the stumps. So we're literally 20 odd yards away from each other, and she's shouting at me, and I could not hear what she was saying. And I was like, whoa, this is real. Like, this is, all these people are in here, like, watching us. We had over 10,000 that day for the first game. And I think that was really when the world opened their eyes, or the country, I suppose, opened their eyes to it. And ever since then, as we know, every game's had phenomenal crowds, and long may it continue, because it's great to see women's cricket being put on the forefront of the agenda.
It was one of the consequences of COVID, because the men and women were supposed to be separate matches.
Yeah, that's actually crazy when you think back to that, that they didn't think of it because it was so successful. But yeah, the women were meant to be playing at like outgrounds, and the men were going to be playing at, the test stadiums. So there's absolutely no doubt that that's could be the only good thing that's come from COVID, but certainly one of the few things. And what a hit it was.
As a bowler, how do you approach bowling a set? I must keep saying that, instead of an over. Do you sometimes think, I've got a ball to bowl and things like that? Or have you got used to 5 now?
Yeah, I think at the start of every year of it, I've been a bit, you get a minute to take your head around it a little bit, and especially if you just come from playing T20 cricket, and it's you're thinking about how you can structure over. It certainly takes a couple of games to remind yourself, but you just, how you might think about your over changes. You maybe got less time to set a batter up, and it's more just about how can you keep trying to concede dots and ones and not get hit for boundaries, especially after kind of first and last balls of your set. So it's certainly got different elements to it, and the kind of concept of being able to bowl 10 in a row if your captain wants you to, and those little bits. But it's certainly good fun, and we as players all really enjoy it.
Have you done that sometimes, the 10 in a row?
Yeah, I have a couple of times, but it's not something that many teams use as a tactic. I think naturally, if the first 5 goes well, then the batters are probably going to line you up the second 5. So it's quite risk reward, because I think they're going to kind of go after it in that second 5. So you might get the wicket, but I've seen it more used if somebody is an exceptional power play bowler. So somebody like a Marizan Cap that can swing the ball early. You probably want her bowling as many balls as possible in the power play. So her bowling a 10 straight through is a relatively good tactic.
Must be a real challenge though when you're bowling a set of 5, even when you're bowling 6 actually, and say the first 2 balls go for 6, and then you've got to try and get out of that over without going for another 2 or 3 boundaries. Yeah,
definitely. It is, and that's the challenge of the game. And when that happens as well, it's even harder when you're playing away from home, and the crowd get louder and louder, and the music's going off, and you've got to try and kind of bring that heart rate down and that arousal level down to like your optimum to go again and have that clarity of mind of what you're going to bowl here, what delivery is going to give you the best chance of going for dots and ones, really, I suppose. But that's part of the game as well. And again, something as I've got older, I deal with a lot better and have that kind of clarity in my own game of what my best deliveries are and what my strongest suit is. And I'm pretty big on my research. I'll do a lot of planning of opposition players. So it makes me feel more at ease when I'm out in the middle, that I know I've done that work, and I can hopefully trust that if I'm bowling at Smriti Mandana, this delivery is the best option for me to get out my over or to go for a dot or a 1.
So you're very aware when you're on the field of the strengths and weaknesses of each individual player you're bowling to.
Yeah, obviously, like to a degree, and they can outwit you just like you can try and outwit them as well. But it's something I've always been quite big on as a bowler for myself. And then obviously since taking over the captaincy, it's something that I've had to, I've not had to, but I've wanted to take it to the next level even, and make sure I know things like my matchups and all those bits of information for the other bowlers as well. I guess it just comes back to that piece about like, if I've done all that, then I can go out there tomorrow or whatever and know that I've done I've done my bit. I've prepped physically and I've prepped mentally. So if it doesn't go well, then you close the chapter and you open it up again the next morning and get ready for the next game, rather than, I guess, looking back going, oh, if only I'd kind of done that the day before or whatever, that kind of peace of mind for me.
It must be a real thrill though to play at all the test grounds, Lords, Edgbaston, Trent Bridge, which you do all the time.
Yeah, no, massively. I think when the 100 first started, getting the opportunity to do that was pretty cool. And ticking off new places. I didn't play at Lords in the first year, so I was desperate when we got round there the second year, which was great. To now have played at Lords a handful of times is pretty special, and the Oval and places like that. So yeah, like you say, it's something that little Kirstie from Huntly would never have even dreamed of, and now it's kind of becoming the norm almost.
You also moved from Birmingham Phoenix to the Trent Rockets. What was the move like, and have you fitted in from the start at Trent Rockets?
Yeah, 2 years ago they introduced a draft, the first ever draft for women's sport in the UK. So it was quite a big deal, and they only allowed like 4 or 5 retentions, I think. So I wasn't retained at the Birmingham Phoenix, which I was disappointed about. I felt like I'd done well for them, and I hoped that I'd be retained. But again, that's professional sport, and off I went into the draft. And so that was a pretty stressful time, the unknown of where I was going to get picked up, what kind of salary band was I going to get picked up on. And everyone's watching that, all your mates, everyone from the cricket community, really. So I guess that was pretty nerve-wracking, but also kind of, what's the word? Like, it was the first of its kind, so nobody really knew. And you want to be I wanted to be picked up, you want to be well represented, but there's just so many unknowns. So yeah, when the Rockets picked me up, it was a relief because it's obviously close to home. I knew loads of the girls and I know loads of the staff from a lot of them cross over with the Blaze as well. So yeah, for me, it was so easy to fit in, like I said, with having such a crossover with the Blaze and it being my home ground for the Blaze. It felt really, really seamless. And naturally, there's a lot of new people with the draft. There was probably more than half the team were all new. So it was pretty easy for us all just to crack on. And I guess one of the advantages for me playing England Day is that I spend a lot of time with people from all different counties and regions. So you then come together, and I know a lot of the girls anyway from around the circuit.
Because I guess in that sort of 3.5 week window, you're very close to the other members of your team, aren't you? With coach journeys, match times.
Yes, exactly. And that's the beauty of the 100 is it's pretty all intense, and we all move into a hotel together as well. So you are living in each other's pockets a little bit for the month, but I think generally everyone embraces it and enjoys that time together and that social aspect that it brings as well.
But much more freedom than you had in 2021, which we still had some COVID restrictions, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. That was quite tricky for a lot of people. I was fortunate at Phoenix. My best friend was playing at Phoenix as well, and so I just moved into her house, and we just travelled every day because the hotel rules are pretty strict with dinner and ordering in Deliveroo's and not being allowed to go out and things. So it gave us that ability to just cook fresh food and little things like that. Eat in a living room rather than on your bed in a hotel room. So yeah, everyone had those COVID challenges, I guess. But there was still just an riding happiness that we were able to play cricket, and a few rules didn't really feel like it was the end of the world.
So far, you've been third. You lost in the eliminator with the Birmingham Phoenix, fourth and fourth again last year with the Trent Rockets. How do you think you'll go this year?
Hopefully better than those last three results, but I think that's the beauty of the 100 is I honestly can't predict it, and anyone could beat anyone. And I think a big thing in the 100 is, I guess, how your best players go. Like, you probably need at least one, if not two, of your overseas players to really fire. They're some of the best players in the world, so you're probably looking at them to have at least one to have an exceptional tournament, and then the rest of us to kind of chip in around that. And if you can have a handful of domestic players winning you the odd game here and there, that's probably what makes a good team. If you kind of look at the past winners, that's generally how the trend goes, I guess, in the women's game. So yeah, hopefully we go better, but it's just so hard to predict, and yeah, that's the beauty of it as well.
We saw that last year with the Welsh Fire. I mean, the draft obviously changed their team, but they went from being a team right at the bottom to a team that could have won the tournament.
Yeah, exactly that. They were exceptional, and Hayley Matthews was a massive part of that. She had an outstanding tournament, especially with the bat, but as an all-rounder really, and Tammy as well. Played well. We were on the back receiving end of her 100 in the 100, so that wasn't obviously a fun day for us, but obviously pleasing for a teammate to see her go on and do so well.
You've mentioned her before, Nat Sibber-Brunt. You've also got Ash Gardner and Alana King playing for you.
Yeah, I had Kingy last year at the Rockets. Got on really well with her, and someone with like loads of experience. So in terms of a spinner, like, it's somebody that I can bounce off ideas with and keep learning off. And yeah, in Ash, we've got one of the best all-rounders in the world. Probably in our team, we've got the two best all-rounders in the world, in my opinion, in Nat and in Ash. So yeah, again, I feel like her as a spinner has kind of taken her game to the next level in the last kind of couple of years. So no, it's exciting again to have new people around and learn off them as well.
And over a short period of time, it's those tight matches that you've basically got to win, haven't you? Because some teams can look like 3 wins out of 8, and you look at they lost two tight games. That could have been 5 wins out of 8 instead of 3 wins.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about those little moments in those short format games, and it's exactly like you say. It's the beauty of the competition and the nail biters. You need them to go your way, and if they do, you can get on a right roll. You can really get on a roll with winning games and winning the big moments. And we saw that in the first year of the 100. Actually, I think nearly every game in the women's game was tight in some way, and I think that was a massive reason for the excitement around it in the first year.
Well, the best of luck in the 100. Hopefully you'll make the finals day on Sunday, the 18th of August at Lord's.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Thank you very much, Kirstie, for joining me on the Paddock and the Pavilion. Good luck for the rest of the season in the Rachel Hayhoe-Flint Trophy and in the 100, and hopefully get back to playing for England again.
Thanks very much. Thank you for having me. It's been great fun chatting.
Sports Social Podcast Network.